The first feature that we have in RDS that is not present in the traditional MySQL is the RDS admin user. The RDS admin user is created whenever we create any RDS instance, and this user is automatically created. We don't have any control over this user. So basically this user is similar to the root user that we have in the traditional MySQL distribution. Whenever we install MySQL, we have a MySQL root user that we don't create, it is automatically created. It is the administrative user that performs many administrative tasks internally. This root user is actually the RDS user, RDS admin user in the RDS instance. Basically through this RDS admin user, this is how AWS actually manages the RDS instance. We can't drop this user, right? We cannot drop a root user, right? We can't change its password. We don't know its password, and there is no need to know its password. It can only log in via localhost, exactly the same like we used to do through the root user. It connects the RDS instance with the auth_socket plugin, and you know that this auth_socket plugin, this actually is one of the authentication plugin, and this plugin authenticates only the clients that are coming from the local host from where the RDS instance, the MySQL engine is running. Okay, so right there it says, and it connects through the socket file mysql.sock. Okay, I'll show you where this file is. All the database objects like stored procedures, triggers, and events that used to belong to root at the rate of localhost in the MySQL side, now they belongs to RDS admin at the rate of localhost. Other auth plugins we know other than the auth socket, they are MySQL native password and the caching SHA-2 password, which is the newest one, and this is going to be actually deprecated, so we should not start using it. We start this one, but in this case the RDS admin user, this should not be used for the RDS admin. Like you know that we can change any MySQL user to change its plugin, but for the RDS admin, never ever use any authentication plugin other than the auth socket. Now let me show you on the client side when we connect and how this RDS admin user look like, and I'll show you in a second. So here I'm connected through the EC2 user, EC2 to our prod RDS instance. The first thing we need to look at the RDS admin user. So select user host, let's say plugin from mysql.user, and as you can see with other plugin and users we have RDS admin. This can only be connected through the host, and it is using the auth socket plugin. This auth socket, like I mentioned, just use the Unix socket file, and how you can see that socket file show global variables like socket through this file temp mysql.sock, and this is where we define this in the mysql.cnf file, right? But since we don't have access to the host, we can't see it, but at least this is the file that is responsible for connecting the RDS admin through the auth socket. No, what I meant that when I said that whenever we create a new MySQL instance, the installation, all the internal administrative tasks are done through the root, and all those database objects, stored procedure, events, and triggers, they all belong to root. But in this case, they should all be belong to RDS admin, and we can see through select, let's talk about all the events, event schema and event name, and let's do the definer. Remember, whenever we create any trigger event, we say definer, and we used to do definer root at the local host. Let's see from there, from information schema dot let's get only the events, and as you can see MySQL is considered the internal event schema, and we did not create these events. These events are internal administrative events, and they all belong to RDS admin at the rate of localhost. So I really meant to show you that this is the RDS admin user, that we should not try to drop it, and if we do, we will get error. So let's first see show grants for RDS admin. If you run this, it should give you error because there is no such user other than if you say localhost. All the privileges are there. These are given by the Amazon with the grant option. We should not play around with these, and we should not delete this user either. If you will try to do that, or if you will try to change the password, it will not work, or in other words, we will be messing up the RDS instance. So drop user RDS this. It should not allow you to drop it. It does say you need a system user privilege. Even if you give the system user privilege, you should not be able to delete this user, because this is the user that manages the whole RDS instance. The user that we have admin, I'm going to show you in the next lesson, that is the user that we can change the password, we can change the plugin, we can do whatever we like to that, because this user, the admin user or the master user, whatever we say, that belongs to the databases and the user within those databases. But for the RDS admin, this only belongs to RDS instance. We should not try to log in through this. We should not create a replica of this user. We should not change the password, and we should not drop this user. Now I hope that you fully understand why RDS admin is there. This is the user that is responsible for managing the RDS instance. I will see you in the next lesson.